All right, welcome again. It's Mel, and this is the second half of Lesson 1, Lesson 1B. So let's get straight into it and launch Photoshop Elements. If you'll notice, first, I'm working in Photoshop Elements 8. Now, some of you may have 10 or 9, or if you downloaded the free trial, I'm sure that's 10. That's the newest edition. But I'm going to say that most of the things that we're going to do will be the same. If you encounter a problem, you can always email me or drop me a comment, and I'll see if I can figure it out for you. So let's start by starting from scratch. And let's name this one monogram paper. All right, kind of gives you an idea of what we're going to make. All right, we're going to keep the width and height the same as a sheet of printer paper. So that's 8.5 inches by 11 inches. The resolution is going to be 300 pixels per inch, and that's pretty standard resolution for all the things that we're going to make. Keep your color mode RGB, and your background contents, this is what our canvas is going to be like. It can be white, or we can choose a color, but I think most of the time it's best to choose transparent. All right, so let's click OK, and here is our canvas. I'm going to grab this top gray bar and I'm going to slide it over. And here's our canvas. Now, if I grab this gray bar and I'm going to slowly push it up to the top, when I see that blue frame around it, I'm going to let go. And that is going to bring that canvas right up front so we can work on it and see the whole thing. All right. We have a bunch of little gray and white boxes all over this. This means that this canvas is completely clear. It's transparent. Anything we put on this, there's nothing behind it. This is completely clear. So if you'll notice, right now I'm in my Move tool, which is this top arrow. Anytime we're going to click and drag, move things around, we need to be in this Move tool. So if in doubt, something's not going right, check to make sure you're in your Move tool first. All right, let's go up and open, File, Open. Now, this popped up because I've been working in it, but let's go and find that folder that you made on your desktop. So I'm going to go Desktop, and here's the folder I made, and here's Lesson 1, and I'm going to open it up. And here are our files. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and open everything. Except this TOU. I don't need to open that. So I'm going to click on the first one, and holding down the Command key in Mac or the Control key, I believe, in PC, I'm going to click on all of them until all of them but the TOU is selected. And then I'm going to click Open. All right, those are going to pop up. And as you can see down here in the tray, these are all the things we've just opened. If you pick one and double click on it, it's going to come to the front. All right, if I choose this one, double click on it, it's going to come to the front. All right, so we can look, we've got a brown paper, green, cute label, some dotted lines, a yellow paper, a circle little label, and this one is the canvas that we started with. So now what I want you to do is from the 3 papers here, I want you to choose one, and I want you to click and drag the paper up to your canvas. All right? Now you can see if I click and drag this around, I can move it wherever I want. The paper, if I let go, you can see the paper is actually larger than the canvas, which is fine. This is all that's going to show is this 8.5 by 11 area. But you can kind of drag it around, get where you want the paper to be. If you're like me, you want the polka dots all straight and lined up. But that's just me. And I am going to let it go. All right, now if I click off of that, you can see this is what, if we were to print it right now, this is what we would print. All right, if you'll notice over here, these are our layers. Layer 1 is that canvas that we started with. All right, completely clear canvas. And what we've done is we've dragged a paper on top of it. All right, so we've got the paper sitting on top right now of the clear canvas. All right, now let's go and over in the sidebar, all the tools that we can use. All right, some ones that we're going to use. The T, that's the text tool. We'll be using that. You know, when in doubt, always go back to the move tool. And this other tool we're going to use right now is right down here above the water droplet, and it is the shape tool. If you click and hold, you're going to see all the different shapes that we could make. All right, but right now we want to make a rectangle. When I click that, what's going to happen is I'm going to get another kind of menu up here that's all about the rectangle. All right, if I click right next to that rectangle, I can make a rectangle that's unconstrained. That means I can make it any height, any width, skinny rectangle, fat rectangle, however I want. If I choose square, it's going to keep the same sides, the same width and height. I can make a fixed size if I want a 2-inch by 3-inch rectangle. I can do that. And from the center means it starts at the center and makes the rectangle out. But right now we're just going to do unconstrained. All right, if we go across here, this is the color that our rectangle is going to be. If you click on it, right now it's on white. It could be green. Disregard the dog barking in the back. Sorry, guys. It could be green. This is a sliding scale, so these are all the colors. All right, but right now I really just want it white, so I'm going to drag over here. I'm going to click OK. Now you're going to see my crosshairs. This is going to come up, and wherever I click first is going to be the first corner of my rectangle. So I'm going to click and drag, keeping all the edges kind of a border around it. And when I let go, it's going to change to a white rectangle. All right, in order for this to be a shape that we can use, we're going to need to simplify it. So right up here on the top, if you click simplify, all right, now we've got a white rectangle on top of our background paper, on top of the canvas that we started with. All right, now I like this rectangle. If I go back to my move tool, if I think this rectangle is too big, I can take one of these side squares, and if I click and drag, I can make this rectangle as large, as small. I could bring it up here if I wanted to. All right, I'm just going to try to make a little border around here. And when I have it just like I want it, I'm going to click the green check, and now I have my border, what looks like a border around this white rectangle. Now, I like the white rectangle, but I'd like to see a little bit more of that background paper. So I'm going to come over here to my layers, and since I have shape 1 selected, right above here is how opaque the shape is going to be. Right now it's at 100%. It is not see-through whatsoever, not transparent. But if as I move my cursor up here, it's going to be a sliding scale. So I click and drag, and you'll see my number. Okay, you'll also see your rectangle starting to disappear. If I go all the way to 0, it looks like the rectangle is not there anymore. If I go to 100, it's completely solid. So I want to bring it to maybe like a 60. And I'll let go. And I can still see a little bit of that background paper, but I have a lighter space. All right, if I'm going to write or print on this. All right, so far so good. Let's go back down here, and you could use this cute label, but I'm going to use this label. All right, so I'm going to click and I'm going to drag it to my paper. All right, if for some reason you drag it and you can't see it, what could happen is that your label has gone below one of the other labels. One of the other layers. All right, so if that happens, look over here. We want this doodle circle to be up on top. So I'm going to click and drag it up to the top. All right, now this is way too big for me. So remember how we changed our rectangle with the sliding, the sides, the handlebars on the side? Well, if I do that, it kind of gets it wonky. All right, if I take one of these corner ones, it keeps proportionally decreasing its size. So it still stays proportionally the same, except I'm making it smaller all the way around. So I'm going to do about what I think is looks right. You can also look up in here, and this check means that it's staying proportional, and maybe I know for sure I want it 50%. So I can type in a 50 and click and see. Yeah, that looks good. So I'm going to click my check mark. All right, I'm going to click and I'm going to drag it, I think, up here to the corner. All right, so far so good. Let's put some text on there. Let's make a monogram. So I'm going to come over here to my text tool and I'm going to click it. Now what it looks like to me is an open book. If that helps you remember, that's what the text tool is. I'm going to click and drag a box. It does not matter how big your box is because we can change that later. All right, you'll see my cursor right here, and I'm going to put in a capital M for Mel. All right, this text right over here tells me what font it is, what size it is. I can bold it, I italicize it, underline it. All right, right now I'm going to select it just like I would in a Word doc. And I'm going to choose another, let's see, that's cute. All right, I'm going to choose another font. It's really not big enough for me, so let's see if I can make it maybe 100. My font 100 point. All right, I went back to my move tool, and I'm going to move it right. Oops, do you see what happened? It went under, so I need to come over here to my layers and I need to grab this layer and I need to pull it up on top. Now when I move it, it's on top of the label. Now it's still, there's two things I could do. I could make my font bigger by dragging one of these corners. But I think what I'm going to do is select this label. I'm actually going to make my label smaller, I think. Okay, so I'm going to move my label, and then I'm going to come back here and grab my M. Now, oh, I can't get it quite, so let me go up to View, and I'm going to zoom in. View, zoom in. Now I can see a little better, and I'm going to move this M right to the middle. All right, now I can zoom out, and here I have a monogram paper. I'm ready to print. I could run this back through my printer for a Word document. I could write notes on this. I could write a school note on this. So let's go up and let's save it first. File, save as. Remember we called it monogram paper, and it took me straight back to this lesson 1 folder that I was working on. If I keep it as a Photoshop file, I can go back in and change the layers later. So that's what I think I want to do. Here are all my options, including a PNG file and a JPEG file, but I'm going to keep it as a Photoshop file, named monogram paper, and I'm going to press save. Now, after that saves, we're going to print it out. It's thinking, all right, here we go. To make sure that this gets printed and not one of these other things in my tray, I'm going to first go down, and even though it has the blue square around it, I'm going to double click it again so the computer knows this is what I'm talking about. And I'm going to go File, Print, and here we go. All right, yes, this is what I'm going to. I'm going to send it to my printer. The letter size, paper, yes, but on this particular one, I'm going to do letter full bleed, which means it will print actually to the edge of the paper. Actual size, 11.5 or 8.5 by 11. 1 copy, and I'm going to print. Now mine comes up with a extra menu, but I'm going to send it to the printer. All right, you just made monogram paper. All right,